one of the topics in sharp focus during the 15th BRICS summit is a common currency. While there's been no clear direction on how far discussions still need to go, there's also no consensus. Yeah, the matter is expected to be interrogated further at the gathering, which begins today in Johannesburg. In fact, let's take you there live and to our business anchor, Tumisang Ndlovu. She's also there with our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa. They're both covering the event for us this morning. Tumisang, shall we kick off our coverage around this discussion on a common currency? What are some of the dynamics feeding into the issue?
Thanks, Michelle. Good morning to you. What's interesting about the common currency discussion is that, well, the reasons behind it, of course, is to protect emerging market currencies, especially those of BRICS member countries. And it so happens that we saw the rand basically start this new trading week on the back foot and remaining that way. And it speaks to how the BRICS bloc is looking for that common currency so that there is trade, but also security around their emerging market currencies. Take a listen to how much of a topic this is likely to be from Brazilian economist Paula Aguero.
I think there's in the global south, there's increasing dissatisfaction with the way the international system works, with the way the IMF works, with the way the World Bank works, with the way the international monetary system works. So there's the countries of the developing world are seeking alternatives, and they're looking to the BRICS, because the BRICS are among the five largest countries in the world, no? And it's natural that the rest of the developing world look to us to see what we offer. How is our bank working? Did we create a monetary fund? What about the idea of a BRICS currency? This is all the matter. These are all topics that are on the agenda for the BRICS, and that will be discussed. I know, for example, that President Dilma Rousseff of the New Development Bank will be present in the summit. She will be interacting with the leaders about the challenges and her plans in the New Development Bank. And the issue of a possible BRICS currency is on the table as well. There may not yet be consensus to launch formally the discussion. We'll see. But the issue is being discussed among specialists in our countries.
Answer to the dominance. Paula Aguero, an economist, basically asking about whether there'll be that consensus this time around, Michelle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the BRICS answer to the issue of dominance of Western currencies, right? But what kind of timelines would we be talking about?
We don't have timelines, and we haven't had timelines since the matter came to light and is now gathering even more steam in terms of the current conversations that are happening within the BRICS bloc. And that's where much of the criticism by analysts has come from, in that if there's going to be talk about a common currency, at what point does the BRICS bloc then take the bold step of making sure that there is at least a white paper or a framework that is going to lead up to that moment where it is a realization as opposed to just a talking point. I must also tell you that another talking point that does not have a timeline, framework or consensus is that of the expansion, and it's become a big debate of BRICS as a bloc allowing more countries to come into the particular organization.
Let's bring in our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, who's also covering the event for us over the next few days. Xolani, I suppose for people who are watching this morning, one of the big questions would be, why should I care?
Michelle, thank you very much and good morning. That's a very big question, because if we are not doing any of this for the ordinary South African, then who are you doing it for? And that's the big question for them. Where are they in these discussions? Well, when it comes to the world we live in now, you can't live in isolation. And if anything taught us, the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 taught us that things such as vaccines, which were actually needed, and other medicines were quite important to get from other countries. We remember those medicines arriving from foreign countries such as India, and this is such a major thing for the country, because when it comes to things such as how prepared we are for the future in terms of pandemic preparedness, is some of the things that are going to be discussed here on Thursday. So South Africans have a lot to gain from these particular engagements, these multilateral engagements, particularly because these countries, these 5 countries, share a lot when it comes to the business community, when it comes to trade, and when it comes to funding some of those businesses that will be funded through the new development bank at BRICS. So South Africans have a lot to think about when it comes to what actually is at stake for them. We import a lot from around the world. We are net importers of things such as fuel. So when it comes to having these bilaterals and such agreements when it comes to fair trade, it is important so that we don't find ourselves running out of fuel, and we have big partners such as Russia, and most of our exports go to such countries as well. So it's quite an important one, also looking at the fact that on average trade between these countries is above the global average since 2016. That is important for local industries. So I'm just scraping the top here, but the big thing is that these countries also represent 42% of the global population and 32% of the global GDP. That is quite important, and it shows you that the world is moving and gravitating towards these BRICS nations.
Yeah, some interesting discussions happening in the build-up to this event, Xolani, around, for example, exploring and expanding township economies. So that's the kind of thing that you're talking about. If we were to take 2 main takeaways from what will come out of these discussions over the next few days, what do you reckon those would be?
The 2 will definitely be the expansion of BRICS, BRICS Plus. We know a number of countries have applied to become members, and these countries include such countries as Libya and Saudi Arabia and many African countries who will be here from today. That is going to be a major discussion, because we know that Russia feels that we should keep the bloc as it is and just include some of the countries as BRICS Plus when the formation is stronger. That is a major one. And of course, to talk about what my colleague Tumisang spoke about earlier, how would the BRICS bank work? How would the BRICS currency work? Do you need a central bank to actually run it? Those are some of the big discussions. And of course, to talk about how the BRICS bloc of nations respond to the Ukraine-Russia war. So there's a lot expected in terms of those takeaways, but already the groundwork has been done in the past couple of days when it comes to bilateral agreements that will see some industrialization of South Africa's economy or re-industrialization rather. So those are just some of the top takeaways, with BRICS Plus being the top one.
With the sun yet to come up there in Sandton, our business team is on the ground with all of the angles around the BRICS summit over the next few days. Our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, and the AM Reports business anchor, Tumisang Ndlovu. Thanks very much indeed.